So there are a lot of rules of thumb out there when it comes to like how to evaluate real estate, how to make sure it's something that's profitable to get into. I mean, I wrote a bunch of them down. There's that 1% rule. There's a 50% rule. There's a cash on cash return, which I've always liked. The cap rates. Being a banker, we always evaluated debt service. You know, can the rents pay for the mortgage on it? You know, there's rents and vacancy ratios that you build into some of this stuff. When you look at those guardrails, when you first, I mean, you see these large real estate investors that have teams of people that they turn over every rock. You know, what's the liability that might be underlying in that property that you don't see from the surface? But when you're first looking at and evaluating a piece of real estate, are there some of these rules of thumb, like the 1% rule, that are really outdated, not too useful? They've been replaced by better things, or you know, are there still, these are the top 1 or 2, 3 things that I do when I first see a piece of real estate that keeps me out of trouble?
So the 1% rule, I've bought a lot from 1% rule. So what it is if I see it and I know so those who don't know the 1% rule, if there was a fourplex for $500,000, it needs to be bringing in $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right. So if I saw that, I instantly know that that's something that I need to look into. And I need to be, you know, like that's something I need to make sure I don't want.
I want to take a look at under the rocks and see if there's anything
Yep.
bad. But right now that's a good opportunity.
And
still.
so then the same with the cap rate. So that also, when I see something that's like a high cap rate, I'm like, I need to look into this. I need to see what it is. And so I look into those things, but that's not what, and I'm different. And so I break it down simple so that I can think in my own brain. So what I'll do is I like to see what my equity position is going to be. So if I was to buy a fourplex and it was, say, $250,000, or let's try to make it more realistic, so $600,000, I try to see if there's any way that there's any equity in it. Like, is it because you make the money on your buy, right?
Yep.
So if it's not, there's a good chance I won't touch it. But if it's $600,000 and I'm like, well, it's actually worth $750 if you did some repairs or you did some things like that.
Added another room.
Correct. And then you could up the rents to it, right?
Yeah.
But what I most importantly want is to know when I get my money back. So if I go and I buy something and there's this fourplex and it's $500,000 and it's, you know, I got to put 20% down, let's say. How long is it going to take me to get my $100,000 back?
Yeah.
Because I want that damn fast. I don't want to wait 15 years. I don't even want to wait 10 years.
Is it I think you have a 5-year rule?
And so I have a 5-year rule.
Yeah.
And so if it's an older, rougher building that I know is going to need some maintenance, then I'll do a 5-year rule on it. If it's like a newer townhome or just built or whatever, then I'll do a 7-year rule on it.
Yeah.
And because what I look in my brain, I've always thought this, but I'm planting these money trees once every 5 years. And on the 6th year, I get my money back for my first one. Then now I can plant that. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so I just keep moving those. And so then these are now profiting and paying for themselves and making me money. And now I'm just moving it down the road.
So a 7-year payback is about a 10% rate of return on the cash on cash. Like I put $100,000 down, I'm getting a 10% rate of return. Means in 7 years I got my money back, 7.2, and I can now put that into a different piece of property. And so that's kind of a benchmark, I guess, if you look at it. 5-year payback is a higher rate of return,
right?
And so kind of a minimum of 10% rate of return or higher on the properties that I purchase so that I can get my money back and I can reinvest it.
And so what I've also learned is on the 5% is for the 5 years, I typically can get more equity in those. They're a little older. Maybe they need work. Maybe there was a rehab. Maybe it was whatever. So now I'm getting into it and say it's a $500,000 property, but it's worth $650,000. Plus, I'm getting all my money back within 5 years. So then that 6th year, that thing's going to be worth, there's a good chance it could almost be double.
Yeah.
Or if not, at least 30, 40% more of what I paid for it.
Yeah.